folks, welcome back to Nostalgianomics. Today's a real simple video. We're going to talk what works and what just doesn't work anymore in Pokemon and other TCGs. Because as we all know, what used to work 2, 3, 4, 5 plus years ago just doesn't work anymore. And I'm talking on both sides of this, right? I'm talking for the long-term investors, right? There's different products you want to look into moving into. There's different hold times. There are different timelines on when to move into those products. And there's just different price points. And then on the other side of things, the business side, the buying and selling side, the flipping side, the scalping side, the whatever their vocabulary word we want to throw at it side. There's a lot of things that have changed there as well, right? Some of the plays are, getting a little shorter. Some of the things you want to rush a little more on. There's a lot of other TCGs coming up and how to play those. So we're going to get into all that today and just give everyone kind of a better chance to be profitable and see increase on their investments in 2024 and moving forward. And hopefully you take something out of it. So before we do all that, I know you guys always give me so much trouble about my wardrobe, right? You're still saying, Alex, how are you still wearing the Abercrombie & Fitch graphic tees 15 or 20 years after they were popular? You haven't been in high school now for over 15 years, man. Give it up. And I said, all right, we'll get rid of the old A&F. And so I had a company by the name of Into the AM reach out to me. And they said, Alex, we love what you do. We think you look great in our apparel. Why don't you let us send you some stuff and you can just give us an honest review in a video if you like it. I said, that sounds fair. It's easy enough. Guys, I got this stuff in. I actually love it. So here's the hat. I like the hat, like the logo, but the shirts, this is some of the most comfortable material I've felt. They actually fit to your body. They don't have those cheap shirts that flare out on the side. They don't flare out down by the waist, right? They stay formed to your body. And I absolutely love all the graphic tees that they have. I love all the designs because I'm a graphic tee guy. Now, if you're not a graphic tee guy, they got the basic tees with the logo as well or no logo. They got the hoodies, they got the pants, they got the hats. They got pretty much everything you need to completely redo your wardrobe, as I'm actually going to start doing slowly because I'm actually going to continue to buy more of this stuff. I actually truly like it. And so if you see something you like or you want to get any of this stuff yourself, I got a link in the description and the comment section below. If you click that link, it's 10% additional off any other sale they have going on their site. And I think right now they have a sale on these graphic tees, like 3 for $65 plus an extra 10% off. So it's like less than $20 a tee is what you're getting these for now. So make sure to check out Into the AM and let me know what you think if you pick up any for yourself. Getting into today's video, let's start out on the long-term hold side of things, okay? So usually, right, back in the day, things would pre-release pretty low. And at release, they were pretty low. We didn't see these gigantic spikes out of the gate until, later on in the hobby, right? Near the pandemic times and into the pandemic and after the pandemic when things, went to the moon right out of the gate. And so it always made a lot of sense. Hey, if you want to get in at release or even at pre-release or even a little after release, you can get in at some of the cheapest prices. And yeah, there's going to be some longer hold times. So a lot of people like to hold off because they didn't want their money sitting there as dead money. And so, usually you had time. Usually wasn't a lot of price movement within the first year or two. But then, during the pandemic, everything changed. And it was like a race to get in. You had to get in at pre-release or at release because they were going to the moon. The supply was not enough. The demand was too high. And there was just crazy money to be made. And even when a lot of the boxes dropped after reprints or such, they'd never really dropped to their old lows. And so you still missed out. So even if you were a long-term investor, you were still getting in at a higher price point, which hurt. But now, in 2024, Scarlet and Violet, we're returning to those old times where you got time, right? You don't even have to get in at pre-release or at release. We're seeing, products sit. We're seeing stores have to just, fire sell them or have to get them off their books, whatever it may be. They want to free up capital for other sets. And you can pick a lot of these boxes up in the 70s and the 80s, whereas, this is after Pokemon's MSRP rise. We thought these were going to be like $100 plus boxes at all times. Maybe drop down in the 90s. But, to see them come down this low, they're really good entry points. And so that's one thing that's changed. The other thing that's changed is there's so many more products now, right? We got the PC ETBs. We got the booster bundles. We've got all sorts of collection boxes and tins and all, we got promo cards in the ETBs, which we didn't have before. Whereas, back 5 years ago, they didn't have a lot of this stuff. They certainly didn't have promo cards in the ETBs, the regular ones. They certainly didn't have, booster bundles or a lot of this other stuff. And so, there's a lot of market noise, right? You don't know, you're having your dollar tugged all different directions. You don't know which way to go. And so I'm just going to give you my perspective. You can make your own decisions, but I think still to this day, booster boxes are king. They're the most liquid. They're with the largest majority of this community once. They're what sell the most. And that's where everyone's eyes are when people think about collecting a sealed product of a set. It's still booster boxes. Now, I've done videos in the past. PC ETBs, the Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs, they seem to hold up second best long-term over time next to the booster box. I think it's because of the scarcity, especially now with the exclusive promo card and that value, that keeps the value up. And so I do think that sealed product with those promo cards, that is going to be number 2 in my book. Okay. Then I would say number 3. Okay. If you're really trying to, dig down and find, more niche stuff, any type of like blister pack, like a check lane blister or a 3-pack blister that has a popular promo card, whether it's a popular Pokemon, it's sought after, maybe it's short printed, there's not as many of them, whatever it may be, those seem to do well because when people want to chase that promo in the future, right? A lot of the times it's hard to find a mint copy, especially if you want to grade it. If it's a hard card to grade and the graded value is really high, like the PSA 10 value goes really high, that helps the value of that a lot. So you're really playing more on the promo card than you are actually the pack inside or the few packs inside or the sealed item value. And so that's always an option you can go. Some options I wouldn't go. I stay away from a lot of the collection boxes that are based around unpopular Pokemon. You know what I'm talking about. Like, some of the ones that are based around popular Pokemon, if it's like a Charizard or Blastoise or a Mewtwo, those can do well. But when they're throwing all these random newer Pokemon or other Pokemon that people aren't really seeking after, those collection boxes usually sit and they don't sell well, and then they take very long times to rise in value, if ever. And so really you're just depending on the packs inside rising over time to raise the collection, the value of those boxes, because the box or promo cards in those themselves, they're not doing it. Same thing goes for the tins and other items with unpopular species or Pokemon in them. And then lastly is the regular ETBs. Guys, I get they have a promo card in them now, which is better than other ETBs back in Sword and Shield. However, I talk about this a lot. Back in XY, Sun and Moon, even some in Black and White, tail end of Black and White, those ETBs were extremely low printed, okay? They were a very niche item. They weren't really accepted well in the collector space at the time. They didn't sell well. They were not anywhere near the item they are today. And because of that, they were, a lot of them were just opened, not many of them were collected, and there weren't many produced because they weren't selling that well. So there's so few of those, and that's what drove a lot of the prices of all those ETBs so high, and how a lot of those actually outperformed some of the booster boxes in percent gain in a lot of those sets, okay? And then people will say, well, what about Rebel Clash? Rebel Clash was the same way. It was during the pandemic, it wasn't reprinted, and it was scarce enough to see a value rise, and that's why those ETBs are high. Moving into middle and late Sword and Shield and so on, and the Scarlet and Violet, I don't see the greatest return on regular ETBs going forward. It's one of the products Pokemon prints the most of. It's what goes to every single big box store. Tons of them are sold on Amazon and every game store. They're just so mass produced. Whereas booster boxes, they're more limited and they're more sought after. I understand the ETB price points are lower, but in my opinion, again, I just don't see moving forward ETBs being the play. If you want an ETB, I would say go after the Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs. Those have a track record now. Every set in history, they're basically just on the edge of performing as well as the booster box. They're usually not quite as good, but they're usually the second best item in the set in terms of percent growth. Okay? So that's kind of what I would stick to and what I would stay away from going on sealed product in 2024. Now, moving into the plays, the flips, the scalps, the business side of things, whatever other vocabulary words we're throwing at it, because we always gotta label it, these mean, nasty words of making money in this hobby for some reason. And by the way, you know who makes the most money in this hobby office, right? Pokemon Company International. Yeah, they're the true scalpers, all right? They scalp the distributors, which scalp us, which we scalp people. It's wild. But yeah, let's go into the flips. So, sealed product was never meant to be, but it became for a while during the pandemic. It is not a flip. You do not flip sealed product. Even if you have distributor access, it's very hard to make money. Now, if you want to play the game of in-person stuff and make these deals on Facebook or Discord and try to meet up, maybe you can, make some profits there. But as far as trying to sell them on, large-scale websites and doing it in mass amounts, very difficult. The profit margins are so low. A lot of the stores are just trying to dump a lot of it, and so the profit margins get basically eaten up by fees and shipping. And you can't really make anything off sealed product, especially at release. So I wouldn't be looking to flip a lot of sealed product unless you have some crazy deals and some crazy ways to move it that aren't associated with a lot of fees and shipping and things like that. Okay, grading. Let's talk about grading. CGC, guys. they can't help themselves. They fall into one controversy after another. Now their slabs, can be resealed and cracked, and if it was me, I'm staying away from CGC with a 10-foot pole. I'm not touching CGC cards. I don't even know if I'm going to be buying CGC cards to crack and regrade like I was. Because I was buying CGC cards, right? Whether they were like, 8.5s or 9.5s or whatever, trying to crack them. If they look clean, I'd crack them, regrade them with PSA, try to upgrade them and make a margin there. I don't even know if I'm doing that anymore. So that's my opinion. I would stay away from CGC. They have one controversy after another. They just can't fix that business. And, the cards are showing. The values of a lot of those cards are showing. They're getting less and less liquid, and the values just aren't keeping up with other grading companies. Beckett, okay? Beckett's really just going for the home run shot, right? That is going for the lottery. You're going for that black label. And if you get it, you're going to exponentially beat any other graded card game. If you get the Beckett Pristine 10, a lot of those hold up very well too, especially with vintage. Definitely with vintage. Modern, it's more similar to PSA 10s, but you're still going to do well with the Beckett 10. Beckett 9.5s and under, they're going to pale in comparison to a PSA grade. And so if you're going with Beckett, make sure you are sending the mintiest of mint cards that you think are perfect. Because if they're not, it's probably better to just send a PSA, go for that PSA 10, because yes, PSA 10 cards, they can have minor imperfections because, there's different little guidelines. They can be 60-40 off, they can have a white speck or maybe a hairline scratch, little bitty things that they'll let pass sometimes if it's still overall a perfect card. Whereas, going for that Beckett Black Label or even Pristine, you might not get that there, and then because of that, it's worth a whole lot less money. And so, I still like PSA. I think it's the most liquid. I think it's what the most people are looking for, the most collectors collect. And overall, overall with all the grades, it holds the most value. Like I said, unless you're going for that Moonshot Black Label or some of those Pristine 10s of CGC, but I just wouldn't touch that grading company right now. Just my opinion. Going into grading, though. The plays are disappearing faster than ever, okay? The first to market is becoming attacked more than ever by so many different sellers. And so what's happening is you're getting stores, you're getting people with distribution, they're getting their boxes and cases, weeks early now. And they're cracking them, right? They're opening all the cards. They're getting their grades ready, and they are sending their grades out immediately when PSA allows it. And what they're doing a lot of time, they're using the higher tiers, like the $40 tier or more, and they're getting their cards back instantly, and they're throwing them on the market, and they're getting tons and tons of profits. And then the more they come to market, the prices go down, down, and down. But so many people are doing this now that the price margins are shrinking faster than ever. And so the grading plays on new sets are disappearing quicker and quicker, meaning you gotta be light speed. You gotta be fast out of the gate if you're gonna try to play that first to market play with raw cards into grading. Okay? Otherwise, a lot of times the play that you sent in, if you send it in bulk, by the time you get it back a couple months later, that margin might have disappeared. So even if you hit that 10, you're making peanuts. And then if you hit the 9, you're losing money, and it's becoming harder and harder to make money in that market. But there is still margins there. My advice there is if you got an in to get product early and you can get cards the day of, you can play that race to the bottom, play it. By all means, you can make a lot of money doing it. Otherwise, I would say continue to look in the sets, go deeper in the sets off of the top hits, and kind of look deeper in the sets and see how some of those cards are doing graded, because some of those can get overlooked by a lot of the mass graders, and those plays can actually remain a lot longer. And then going back a little further, going back into Sword and Shield and late Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon, XY, you can find cards. You can still find them. Believe it or not, you can still find them in mint condition. But what's cool about it is some of those cards, it's not like the brand new stuff. You can actually win still getting 9s. And so if you can go find a minty card back in some of those eras, and you can send it in and get a 9, you're still going to make some money. If you get a 10, a lot of them are going to be home runs as 10s, like exponential, 3, 4, 5x plus games. And so it can make a lot of sense to do that. Also, what you can do is you can try, cracking slabs if you want to do that. Like I said, I was doing CGC. You can try it with Beckett 9.5s if you get them cheap enough. You can try it with PSA 9s if they look clean. You can try to buy those, crack the slabs, resend them into PSA, try to get that 10 because, like I said, the gains are so exponential if you can hit it. And if you get the 9 back, what'd you really lose? You lost shipping and fees if you sell it again. Not too big of a deal, especially if you can find them at auction and then you can sell it for its full price. Maybe you can recoup all your money and really take a risk-free play there. I don't know. So there's a thing. Singles. I know I have my podcast now with Eli, Pokemart USA, and, he plays the bulk game. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I've talked to Eli in depth about this. The bulk game is very time consuming. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's definitely not for anyone who doesn't have a lot of time on their hands and wants to put forth that time and effort into this business, okay? Bulk is going to take a lot of time. The reason he can do it effectively is, one, he has employees. Two, he's got multiple machines that make it a lot more streamlined, a lot faster, a lot easier. But if you're, sorting cards, you're having to make sure the conditions are right on every card and make all the listings yourself and do all that, selling a lot of 5, 10, 15, 20 cent cards, 30 cent, 50 cent, whatever cards you're selling, it takes a whole lot of those to really amass to a good amount of money. So I don't know how many people the bulk game is for, but with enough volume with anything, yes, there's money to be made if you structure it right. Eli is doing pretty well with the bulk game. So if you want to try the bulk game, right? If you got a bunch of bulk laying around, you got friends that want to off it, you want to pay a cent like the stores do and get it in, hope you can find some, 20, 30, 50 cent cards, maybe some dollar cards in there because people don't know where playable now and then. You can always go that route if you're really trying to, pinch pennies and try to find some profits here and there. That's always an option you can go. And then, as far as other things, just the old faithful still works, right? Finding lots, finding collections, right? People don't want to do the work themselves, and so you can buy them cheaper from them. You can do the work and break them down and sell them individually and still make margins there. And then the last thing that I've been, successful with a little bit lately, I'm giving away one of my plays here, is they're less liquid, but completing some of these sets, all right, especially if you can find like partial completed sets well under market, you can actually make some money completing some of these sets. Now, they're going to sit a little longer. You got to wait for the right buyers, right? And it's not just Pokemon. You can do this in other hobbies, Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know if Magic, but like other hobbies it works too. I've been doing it in Yu-Gi-Oh! You can actually complete these sets, and depending on how many cards you have and how much it takes to get the cards, right, and what the sets sell for, there's actually margins being made there because some of these older sets, people just want to collect the set. They don't want to do all the work to complete them themselves, and they're willing to pay a little extra, right, for you to do the work for them. And so that's a route you can go through. There's still a lot of routes available, but as far as like the real easy money grading, a lot of that's disappeared. A lot of people have caught on to that. Sealed product, that's not really there. The bulk, it's not really for everyone. So, it's really going to be just the tried and true methods, right? The buying collections, the buying the lots, right? The finding the cards under market that are mint that you can send in and grade yourself, right? Maybe finding, slabs you can crack and maybe make a margin there and take some risk, right? Maybe completing some collections might work in some sets for some people. And that's kind of what I see working in 2024. So that's kind of both sides of it, guys. If you want to go the route of the sealed long-term investor, if you want to go the route of the flipper, it doesn't matter. There are still things that work, but you might just have to tweak some of the things you were doing that used to work going forward into 2024. So that's all I got today, guys. I hope it helps everyone out there out a little bit. Make sure if you are looking for any clothes, I'm not lying to you guys, these are really quality shirts. If you're looking for those, make sure to check out Into the AM. The link will be in the description and the comment section below. As always, subscribe to the channel if you're not yet, and I'll be back here in a new video soon. I'm out.